Yep. All right. Was that right in time? Oh, she's still okay. Here we are. Yeah. Okay, so we're holding hey. Grab something. You're on live camera. Okay. We're holding hey. We started the first paragraph, so we're going to do it quickly because I don't think we went through it totally inside. All right, here we go. So again, we're starting in hey. We're mainly going to do the second paragraph of hey, and then go on, God willing, to vav. That will be today, and hopefully next week, Sunday, which is after Yud Shvat, we'll be able to finish the whole mimer. That's our plan. So not bad. Finishing only 1 week after Yud Shvat. That's how it works out. Okay.
Let's celebrate with the Fabrengen.
The Fabrengen, there you go. So a little quick review of what we've learned till now. So first of all, the main point of this mimer is that the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe are explaining that Hashem desires a home in this world. That's Basi Legani. I've come back to my garden. Hashem wants to come back to his garden, which is this world, the lowest world. And what comes to this garden? Himself, his essence. Nis'av, his very essence desires a home. And that's the definition of a home, is that's where you are yourself. You're not entertaining anybody. You're not dressing up for anybody. You are yourself. And that's the way Hashem wants to be in this world. He wants to be himself in this world. And the way it says in the Maimer is we draw down the Seviv Kolam, the transcendent light, until the most transcendent, which is God's very essence. That was the first point. The second point is that we draw down into the very lowest. And that is the Yeshevas Beganim in both gardens. The gardens, we translate it two ways. Gardens can either mean the highest way, where we are in Gan Eden, or it means gardens the way we are in this world in exile, in foreign gardens. And that's where we draw down Hashem's light to, all the way to the very lowest, even to the gardens, as the Maggid said, even in a place where Hashem has to wash himself, from the filth of us, because we are reflected in him. Even down there, that's where we draw Hashem down. That was the first two ideas of the Maimer. Then he went into explaining Tzava, that we are called Hashem's legions. Tzives Hashem. It was last week's Parsha Boy, where we said that Tzives Hashem were called the army of Hashem. And the Frierdiker Rebbe had asked, how come we are called Tzava if Hashem is not called Tzavos? Why are we called Tzava if it's not a reflection of what Hashem is? Because Hashem is not called Tzavos until the times of Chana, right? So why are we called Tzava? And in the Maimer, the Rebbe in chapter 4, he went at great length explaining what this question is, the question of why we are called Tzava, and basically explained that number one, Tzvos is not a name for Geula, which was when when Yitzis Mitzrayim happened. Not only that, it wasn't even in the times of the Aves, of our forefathers, because then they had the name Kel Shakai, and the name Tzvos didn't exist then, or at least that didn't exist. Sorry, wasn't applicable then. It was like he says like a candlelight in sunlight. So how come the Jews are called Tzivos Hashem? He went a little further, quoting the Alter Rebbe that the names of Hashem is in Atzilos, Tzvos is in creation and Biyah. And in that generation, they were on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, which was the level of Atzilus, so therefore that's why Tzvos wasn't in use then. So how come the Jews are called Tzvos? And this at Tzivos Hashem. And then the third, he quoted from the Middle Rebbe that there's three types of names or definitions. You have a noun, a adjective, and a verb. And he said a noun is the thing itself. They're talking about the light. The adjective is talking about the vessel. And the verb is talking about the action. And he said, and so basically the noun and the adjective describe the thing itself. The verb is not about the thing itself, it's just what it's doing. And that's the difference, he says, between the names of Havaya and the other 7 names. They're not that are not erased, and the name of Tzvais. Havaya is a name, Shema Etzim is like a noun. The other names are like an adjective, which describe the vessel, the inner part of the vessel, and Tzvais represents the way Hashem does it, creates the world, the action, which is much lower. And it's the difference between, he says, finite and infinite. And that just made the question greater. Why are Jews called Tzivos Hashem if Hashem wasn't at that point called Tzvos yet? Because, again, that attribute of Tzvos, of action, of coming into the world, coming into creation, wasn't something that the Jews had to deal with at that point, because they were living in the world of Atzilus, where everything was one. They didn't have to deal with what the world was. That is basically what we did up until now. I did it very short, and the reason I did it short because the continuous reminder, you can do it without knowing all these parts. So we're going to continue. Yeah. Here we go. Hey, here the Frierdiker Rebbe answers the question. The answer to the question is, why are the Jews called Tzivos Hashem? So he says that there are three reasons. Number one is Sava comes from the expression of, it's the meaning of soldier. We are soldiers of Hashem. This interpretation of soldiers that Frierdiker Rebbe does not explain in this ice of Yud in this year, but we're going to be learning it throughout the coming years, because till the end of the Maimer, this is basically what the Frierdiker Rebbe does, and the rest of Basi Legani is to explain why we are called soldiers. So in this paragraph, we don't go into it. This year, we don't go into it too much at all. The next explanation is that it comes from limited time, the finite time that we are in this world. Sava Enesh, that a person has a finite amount of time in this world. So over here, Sava comes from a set amount of time. That's another meaning of Sava. That Frierdiker Rebbe says that we have a set amount of time that we're here to do our job. And this is going to become the main theme of the rest of this Maimer, is explaining what the importance of time is. Why is time such an integral, critical part of our service of Hashem? And the third thing is, Tzivyon comes in the world from the idea of form and beauty. Like Tzivyoinam, he says, Tzivyon v'yofi, form and beauty. So the first thing that explains is the idea that we are form and beauty. And in short, again, we did it, I think, at length last year. So we're not going to go at length now. We're going to go through quickly, and then we'll get into the idea of time. That's what we'll focus on today. How does the Frierdiker Rebbe explain beauty? So he says that beauty comes from a mixture of colors. If you have just one color, there's no beauty. And that's the definition of form. Form is, it's made up of parts. A beautiful form is, it has, right? If you just have a block, it's not a beautiful form. If it's made up of, a lot and made up in a beautiful way, that's where you have beauty. So beauty comes from a meshing together of different things. And he says the same thing as each and every one of us. One of us is a scholar. One of us, I'm not going to say who on this table. One of us is a master of good deeds. Somebody else is a simple Jew and serves us Hashem simply. They have somebody who is a Kabbalist, somebody who is Pnimis Hatayra. But all together we form a beauty. Each one on their own is bland. We're all one-dimensional. When we come together, then we make an orchestra, a picture, and together we all blend together and create much beauty. And that is the third meaning of the word Sava, that it comes from beauty, is that we all harmonize and together we all make a beautiful picture together. And that's why we're called Sava. That's why we're called the Tzivos Hashem. The point that the Rebbe adds to this is that when we all come together and we form that beautiful picture, not only is the whole picture beautiful, but now each detail becomes beautiful as well. So when you mesh a bunch of colors together, so when the color's alone, white on its own and red on its own, each one is bland. When you mix it together, it makes beauty. But not just it makes beauty, but now it makes the white beautiful. The white itself becomes beautiful. The red itself becomes beautiful. In other words, each and every one of us, we share together a general beauty that we all create together, but then each one of our service of Hashem becomes beautiful in its own right. It makes each one particularly beautiful. And how does that relate to the whole Maimer? Because again, it's both of these points. On the one hand, what are you doing? You're bringing down the transcendent light of Hashem, Seidus Kolami, right? Till Atzis Mahos, the very essence of Hashem, which is like the general beauty in the picture, but at the same time, it comes down into the particulars, into the gardens, as we said before, the different levels and the malikalam and the light that fills the world. That means each and every one of us becomes more beautiful because of this transcendent beauty. It's exactly the point of the mimer, that both of these things are happening. The transcendent light is coming down, and this transcendent light is affecting every individual part as well. It's affecting the malikalam as well, the light that fills the world.
Sounds very
New agey?
yeah.
How?
Like, like, oh, we're all beautiful together, and we're all, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's not true. Just that little, out there.
That's what it's the truth. What's the problem with it?
Nothing.
It's good.
But what's the purpose of? I mean, I guess. So what? But what's the purpose of it? Or avoid it being particularly beautiful? Why is that even important? Why does that matter?
Again, because we're talking about drawing down Hashem's light into the world,
Okay.
right? So you draw down Hashem's light, you want to accomplish two things. Number one is you want to bring down the transcendent light, the Seviv Kalalmin, but you also want to bring down the particular light, the Malik Kalalmin, the light that fills the world. When you serve Hashem, where's the beauty come from? The beauty comes from because when you serve Hashem, you're harmonizing with everybody else. All together, the Jewish people as a whole bring down the transcendent light of Hashem. But at the same time, when you serve Hashem and you blend in with all the Jews, you also bring down the light, which is Malik Kalam, and it makes your Avodah beautiful. That's why it's important. I'll take it a step further. Why it's important? Why it's important is because if you only have a general beauty and your Avodah Hashem is not beautiful, then what you're basically saying is that godliness has nothing to do with me. It's some transcendent out there thing. It's almost like if Mashiach comes and he saves the entire world, but he doesn't help me, then Mashiach hasn't come for me. He hasn't done what he's supposed to do. Why? Because there's a certain part of the world which Mashiach is not relevant to. Godliness has to be relevant to each and every one of us. That's the individual beauty.
Yeah, but I'm saying I would say the opposite. It sounds like that means that's exactly what it means. That I'm taking that upon myself. It is all about me. It is all about each individual person. It's not like we say, okay, we have 613 mitzvahs. So okay, I'll take a few, maybe you take a few. Yes, you do a few. Well, like, yes, we have things that we do specifically together, but like we have to serve Hashem ourselves.
Correct.
I can't say like, well, everyone else came from Minyan this morning, so it doesn't matter that I didn't show up till afterwards. So.
Correct. But let's say you're not a Kohen, for instance. You need other Jews. Thanks, Mario. We all need to blend together. You can't do everything, and I can't do everything.
Right.
We need each other to complement each other. And then there's more particular, he says, is that there's something that you excel at. And what you excel at, that's what you're going to bring more godliness into the world. But then you're going to be lacking in another area. So the scholar is doing unbelievable when it comes to Torah studying. When it comes to tzedakah, he's not doing such a good job. I mean, he's giving a little bit, but he's not doing anything major. But then you have another Jew who's doing incredible work with tzedakah, but he's not a scholar. So these two are complementing each other. The Rebbe also says it about in other places about the fact that we're in different countries. Each country has first of all, a different culture. So we each help each other out. And then you have a country where there's persecution, so they're not able to keep Torah mitzvahs. So in another country, Jews are keeping Torah mitzvahs. They're helping out the Jews that are undergoing that persecution. Those Jews have this
Nobody's doing anything with that in mind. We're just
correct.
Going through our space, going through our lives, and yes, maybe on a
correct.
communal level,
yeah,
we do. But nobody's here thinking with a kavana when they're doing something. Doing some mitzvah, like, wow, I'm really helping those Jews in Russia.
Very good. But that's the way it goes. Not only that, but I think the Alter Rebbe in Perek Memala from Beis and Tanya says that we should think about this.
Yeah.
That we're all connected. We're all one. We all help each other out. Don't remove yourself from the general cloud. Don't remove yourself from Klal Yisrael. Every mitzvah we do, we're binding with each other. That's the Arevim Zebazeh, where all of us are mixed together. We're all mixed and.
But in the end, it's not coordinated. And like
Hashem coordinates that. Yeah, but that's Hashgacha Pratis. That's why one person is better at one thing, one person is better at something else. One person is easier at this thing.
So what's the difference? I don't understand practically speaking. We just go do what we have to do. That's going to happen by itself. The only thing I can see is that we have a responsibility to make sure Jews are engaged in Yiddishkeit. That's about it.
Which is a big thing, first of all, but also it's obviously Yisrael. It tells us is that whatever I'm doing, I need somebody else. Like the Machsa Shekel, the famous words. Why don't I give half a shekel? It reminds us that I'm not on this on my own. I need somebody else. So it's telling us that everything that we do, there's obviously Yisrael, as the Hillel said.
Then a blood box or vice versa. They're going to say no.
That's what Hillel said. The whole thing is about obviously Yisrael. And this is what the Maimer is saying, is you're an army of Hashem. Why? You're a legion, just like a physical army. Nobody can do it on their own. We all need each other. Each one is a different field, a different, whatever they're called in the army, right? Battalion or whatever it is, a different, right? One's a sniper, one's a paratrooper, one's a pilot. We all have different jobs. And if one decides to stop doing what they do, it could throw the whole army off, right? So that's the idea. So the idea is that it reminds us is that we're all connected in this, and we all need each other. And that's whenever we learn anything, Chassidus, Torah, everything, and do a mitzvah, we always realize, hey, I'm not on my own. Good. So let's do this inside. Again, we'll do this a little quicker, and then we'll go on to the next part. So we'll start from Hey. In the booklet, it's on page Chabez, and in yours, I'm not sure what page it's on.
Second paragraph.
Hey, we'll start from the first paragraph, and then we'll get into the second paragraph. Hey, after he asked the question, how come the Jews are called Tzivos Hashem if Hashem is not called Tzivos? He says, he answers like this: Hashem Tzivos Havayu Miloshin Tzava. Tzivos Havayu comes from the word Tzava, and Tzava has three meanings. Sheish Begimel Pirushim. There are three meanings to the word Tzava. The first one is the classical one. You might say is Aleph Loshin Chayo, a soldier. What's Tzal? Tzava Haganal Yisrael. Tzava. That's the meaning for army is Tzava. So it means soldier, as he's going to explain in the coming paragraphs, the coming chapters, and that's why we're not going to discuss it this year. Beis Lashon Zman Mugbal, a limited, defined amount of time. That a person has a defined time in this world. The Hagimel, and the third is Melashon Tzivya in B'Yaifi, beauty and form. So first the Rebbe is going to say, till the end of this paragraph, he's going to explain the beauty and the form. Then he's going to go back for the rest of the Maimer, explaining the second meaning, which is time. Correct. And he explains this explanation, this meaning of tzava that comes from form and beauty, the way it is by Jews. Just like ultimate beauty comes when you mix many colors together. When you have only one color, it's not beautiful. Specifically, when you have multicolor, when you have a lot of colors, that's when you have beauty. And it's particularly when that color does not stand on its own, but it mixes together with other colors. So it's not just that you have a lot of colors, but a lot of colors mixed together. And that's real beauty, is the blending of the colors. Not just that you have a lot of colors, but they blend together. And the same thing is by Jews, that they are different in all their levels. That you have Bali Asaga, you have people with tremendous knowledge, they're masters of Torah, Mari Razin to say this, and even more than that, masters of the hidden secrets of the Torah, mystics, Mari the Chuchmasa, the masters of Chachma. And you have simple Jews, they're masters of the good deed, meaning they fulfill Torah mitzvah simplicity. This is their beauty. This is their form. Shutachlis hayefi is the ultimate beauty. That is made up of many colors. By the way, one more point to Chaim. It also teaches us another thing is that when we're different, you have one type of chassid, you have another type of chassidim. When we're fighting about it, it's not only it's bad, it's wrong and missing an obviously Yisrael, but it's the truth is incorrect. This is the way we're created. We were meant to have different. You're meant to have chassidim, possibly not non-chassidim. Yes, we're supposed to have that. That's the way Hashem created the world. Different people have different thing. Now,
we believe every youth should learn Chassidus.
Correct. So that's even a non-Chassid should learn Chassidus. That's what we believe. But does everybody have to be a card-carrying Chabadnik? The point is that different people should stress different things, right? And that's what makes the beauty of the Jewish people. That's the beauty of it. And so therefore, you have a different group that does a little bit differently. It's not a reason to fight and to argue. Just the opposite. You should see the beauty in it. And when it becomes political, then you got yourself a problem. Why? Because it goes against what the whole purpose is. And it's like you having Gemara. Every rabbi says something else. That's the beauty. The beauty is the different opinions, the different things. That is what it's supposed to be like. Because that's what makes it beautiful. If everybody was doing the same thing, the same opinion, the same everything, there would be no joy, there'd be no excitement in Judaism. It would just be bland. That's part of the beauty. So the differences are not it's something to be celebrated. That's the point. Let's add she'inyans. Now that was going to add this point that when you have a lot of colors, not only is the whole picture beautiful, but each detail of the picture also becomes beautiful. Not only in the general thing, in every specific thing on its own. The idea of beauty that happens because you mesh together all these specific colors, that beauty is drawn down into and affects the individual colors themselves as well. That's the way it is in a picture. And the same thing is the way it is in the nimshol, in the way it is by Jews, when all the Jews come together as one, that makes a beauty in each individual part on its own, in each individual person on its own. And not only in each individual person, but in each individual avodah of that individual person. Because in ourselves also that we have multicolored. We also don't serve Hashem the same every way and everything. We also serve Hashem differently constantly. There's no two davenings that are the same. There's no two mitzvahs that are exactly the same. And when we mesh all this together, we bring a beauty in each individual action that we do as well. Even though you're doing it in your particular way, which is either Marei Derazim Deiraisa, that you do it as masters of Torah, or or the way it is to those that do the Torah mitzvahs in a simple way. Mari of Tovin, that in each individual service of Hashem, you draw down a particular beauty in that way. So that's all how the Rebbe explains the idea of beauty. And now he's going to go on to explain time. And now he's going to explain the Fizik goes on to explain that the meaning of tzava is hagbala and moyed, a limited time. This is like the verse that says, you will create days, and to him is one of them. I'm having a little struggle figuring out how the Chassidus teaches the pasuk, so I'm hoping that we'll figure it out by the time this. But what is one of the simple meanings of the pasuk is it's talking about before Hashem created the world, that Hashem foresaw everything. And so the way Rashi explains that you will create days, in other words, everything was created in his mind. He had already envisioned everything. This one way of reading it is with an aleph, because this word veloy is written with a vav. It's written with the aleph, but you read it with a vav. You have many times in the Torah that you have this. That loy, like loy chayma. It's written with an aleph, but really read it with a vav, and this is one of those cases. So with the aleph, it means to say that none of them existed. In Hashem's mind, it all existed, even though that not one existed yet. Or he says means, but there was one day. Either it means a reference to Shabbos or reference to Yom Kippur. That in all the days there's one day. That one day. So the way I understand what Chassidus translate this to mean is V'loy echad mehem. You created days. V'loy echad mehem. In them is echad. The oneness we bring down into them. That's the way I'm understanding, right? We bring down the oneness into them. But here you have two ways of understanding it. V'loy with the aleph, meaning you don't, or v'loy with the vav, in it. Okay? We'll go through it in a moment. The tzava l'neshal is a limited time of a person on earth. The whole Adam, the Fizik says that every person, we all are given a finite amount of days that we are on this earth. V'kasher mashlim yamav, and each and every one of us complete our days. B'avedas habirurim, with the avodah of elevating the sparks, biskafi v'ishapcha, with with curbing our Yetzer Hara and transforming it. Oh, so b'chlal tzivei savai, then you're part of Hashem. When you do your work every day and you elevate those sparks and you fight the fight against the evil, against evil inclination, what then you are part, you're part of the Tzivos Hashem, part of the family of Hashem. So what are we going to talk? What's the issue here? The question here is, number one, why are days so important? Why is time, right? By the Rebbe, the general in Judaism, time is so important. You can't say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to learn for today and for tomorrow. Because every day has its thing. Not only that, when it comes tomorrow, you have an obligation to learn tomorrow. So you can't make up, right? You can never make up time. Time, and over here we'll see why time is so critical. But not just time, day-to-day time. Like that would always say, keep Shulchan Aruch in your day-to-day, your day-to-day life. Why is days so important? It says about Avram Avinu. He came with his days, meaning every single day he did a mitzvah. Every single day he accomplished something. What was that? Live with the times. Always live with the times. That was Fabranian, the first talk. Would always be what the Parsha Shavuot is, what day of the month it is, and how this day and this month of the day and the day of the week, and now living with that day. The day is so important. And why is that? Why can't I do 100 mitzvahs in one day? Why do I have to spread out those mitzvahs in 100 days? Very good. By day to day, which would actually tie in here. Why did Hashem create the world in 6 days and raise on the seventh is what you're saying?
Yeah, but he also said specifically which things created on which
Yes,
days.
yes, very good.
Just say, okay, 6 days, this is the whole list of everything.
Good, very good. And it's going to tie in here. Very good. So why is day so important? Right? That the Zohar says if you miss a day, you miss a garment of your soul. It means if one day was not accomplished, you're missing a part of your soul. When the soul goes up after 120 years, it's missing something. Even though he did the same amount of mitzvahs, but because he missed the day, he's missing something. Why are days so important? And essentially, that's what this thing is saying. We're called tzava. Why? Because of time, because of day. In other words, you would think, okay, I live in this world, so I'm subject to time and space, and so therefore, yeah, of course, I have to keep terms in time because I have no other way of doing it. But it's saying it's specifically, we're called tzava because of time. And so it's not just enough that I'm doing it in time and space, but it has to be connected with time, has to be tied up with time. Why is that? And this is what the Rebbe is going to bring down from the Fidik Rebbe that explains to us. We're going to actually accomplish two things here. Number one is what the importance of time is and why the fact that we're called tzava. The Fidik Rebbe points out that we're called because of we live in day-to-day life. But even a second thing is how this now ties with the whole point of the Maimer. Because we have the same question. Why does the Fidik Rebbe bother telling us that we're limited in time? What does that have to do with Basi Legani, Hashem coming back to the garden? By the time we're done, we're going to find out that day to day is part of our whole purpose, part of our whole mission, and therefore it's an integral part of bringing Hashem back down into this world. Is our day to day life. It's not just it happens to be that we're in time and space, but time. That is the way we bring Hashem down into the world, and that's going to be the explanation of this Maimer. So how does this work? So first, the Tzemach Tzedek explains like this. Let's do the pasuk first. Careful. Yamum Yitzaru v'loy echad mehem. Right. Again, the pasuk that we just quoted, that days were created, and to him there is one of them. And there are two ways that we said that we can read this pasuk. It could be v'loy to him, or it could be v'loy with aleph and not echad mehem. What does that mean? So it's almost like saying is like this. When you have the loy with the aleph, it's not. What you're talking about is a level which is higher, which is transcendent. The loy echad. It's beyond everything. It's not there. It's almost like it didn't happen. Why? So you can take it in two ways. Either it didn't happen because it didn't happen, but over here when you translate it didn't happen because it's higher than happening. It's almost like the simple meaning of the verse, right? Where it hasn't happened yet. You're talking about a time and space which is before it happened. That's right. What does the verse say? It hasn't happened yet because it's a level which transcends the happening of it. It's a light which is beyond Ishtalshus, beyond creation, beyond the system, as we've been calling it in this Maimer. It's beyond the system of creation, right? But then you have V'lo yachad mehem, to it there is echad. In it there's echad. And not when you say to him, right? V'lo means to him, in its essence, in it. Thank you. Right? In it, in its pimius, in its very existence. So these would be the two meanings of V'lo yachad mehem, that when you do your day-to-day life, yamim yutzaru, you're created with days. And when you serve Hashem with your days, you accomplish two things. One is V'lo yachad mehem, you draw down when it has not happened yet. Which is what we call the whole time the transcendent light. V'lo yachad mehem, and what have you done? You've brought it into light, into those days. Okay, so let's do that again. You've taken the transcendent light, which is the light that hasn't happened yet, and you brought it down into it. Which, by the way, you see is already the same 2 points of this whole mimer. It's the same idea of bringing down the transcendent light, but you bring down the transcendent light where? Into your day-to-day life. Which is, again, the whole point of this mimer, is to bring down Hashem's transcendent light into your existence. The Sefer Kalalman into Mamali Kalalman, the transcendent light into the light that fills the world. How do you do it? Now we're finding out you do it with your day-to-day life. Because you do mitzvahs in your day-to-day life, that's how you accomplish it. Because you are defined by your day-to-day life. And that becomes the next point that the Tzemach Tzedek is going to explain, that there's one mitzvah that is related to day-to-day life. Most mitzvahs, again, the idea is that you have to do it, or something that you have to do by day, or you have to do at certain times, but it's not connected to day-to-day life. If you want to guess what mitzvah, or you just give it a shot, or what mitzvah would be connected to day-to-day? Tefillin, davening. So I guess tefillin is the mitzvahs do by day, but it's not connected to the day. The davening, on the other hand, is connected to day-to-day life. Where do we get it from? Because it comes from the carbon tamid. There was a sacrifice that they brought in the base of Mikdash every day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and it was a mitzvah of the day. How does it say when our sages say when you miss the day? Batal karbana, you missed the day. The carbon is batal. You can't bring two tamid. You can't bring two sheep the next day because you forgot the day before. It's a mitzvah related to that day. That day is gone. There is no more sacrifice. It's a missed opportunity. And he's saying is that davening comes from the same thing. Davening comes from those sacrifices. We daven in the morning because of the morning sacrifice. We daven in the afternoon because of the afternoon sacrifice. And at night we daven because of the organs they used to burn on the mizbeach at night. But the idea is that our davening is connected to the day. So it's not just that you daven by day, but your davening is connected to the day. It's a day-to-day thing. Every day you have to daven.
Every chakra is unique.
Right. To connect it to that very day. As opposed to tefillin. Yeah, so tefillin is mitzvah day, so we do it every single day. But it's not connected. And I guess the biggest proof would be is that's on Shabbos, you don't put it on. Right? Davening is every day. Tefillin is every single day. It's a mitzvah that's every single day connected to the day. Why is that? So the Tzemach Tzedek is going to explain that what does davening do? We live in a coarse world. And therefore, whatever we do is connected to the physicality and materialism of this world. So you do a mitzvah, you gave tzedakah, but it's a physical mitzvah, right? You put on tefillin, it's physical hide. How do you elevate? It's physical leather, right? How do you elevate that? Davening elevates our mitzvahs. It takes the coarseness of our mitzvahs and it elevates it. So everything that's connected to the physical world has to be elevated, has to go up to heaven. Where do we do that? On camera. We have to, go. You have to do that how? With davening. We do that with davening. So davening is this idea of yamim yitzaru. It's that davening is related to day. Not only that, but day is made up of night and day. So now we have a third point. Okay. Point one we said is that through davening, which is the next thing, right? Through davening, we draw down the veloy before it happened, meaning higher than the system. We draw it down into the system, veloy, to it. But what are we doing also? We're rinsing out the dirt. We're cleaning out the filth, which was the third point of the mimer. that we clean out the filth, that Hashem has to clean out the filth, meaning that where does this reach? It even reaches the filth of our world. It even reaches the filth of exile. That's how far down this light of Hashem is reaching, to the very filth. So what happens now, what turns out is that through our davening, we accomplish what we've been talking about the whole time in this mimer. Your davening accomplishes all three of these things. How do you draw Hashem down into the filth, so to speak, is number one, because davening draws down the transcendent light. Number two, it draws it down into your day-to-day life, into your very existence. And number three, what is it accomplishing? It's rinsing out the dirt. Meaning it's reaching the very dark and the darkness of the world. As davening, you're supposed to transform your Yetzer Hara, that you should also love Hashem. You're not just reaching light, you're reaching on the darkness. And not only reaching the darkness, you're cleaning out the darkness. Which is exactly the whole idea, Basi Legani, bringing Hashem down into this world, into the very filth. That's basically what the Tzemach Tzedek says. And what our point is, it's all done in days, 6 days. Why? Because again, we are defined by day-to-day life. That's who we are. So you have to bring it into your time. If you're not, yeah. Okay, so tell him after he finishes. Okay. Yeah, go quickly. Tell him. Do you need it? Okay, so go tell Davi. He's almost done. Go quickly. I can come soon. Okay. Go tell Davi to help you. Yeah. Okay, tell Davi, okay? Or tell Mendel. Mendel's probably learning now. All right. Okay, so what do we have? So the final part is the loy. You bring it down into days, because again we are defined by our day-to-day life. That's what makes who we are. So you haven't brought it down into your day-to-day life. You haven't brought it down into yourself. In other words, if you haven't served Hashem every day, then it's not you. You have to eat every day. You have to breathe every day. You have to serve Hashem every day. If it's not in your day-to-day life, then it's a transcendent thing. It means that it's not me. I don't need it. That's not enough. You have to bring it into your reality. If you want to bring it down into your reality, it has to be brought down to your day-to-day life. That's why Veloy is Vav. Vav is 6. You have to bring it down to the 6 days of creation. You have to bring it down into every day of creation, which again, Chaim relates to what you said before, is that why each day of creation is its own thing, and you have to bring it down into your creation, into your existence, as everybody's going to say. Excuse me. Let's do this inside. We have to understand what is this idea that we were created with days? Yeah. You have to go this way. Yeah, is it open? Yeah, you can do that. Go. Go quickly, okay? We have to understand what is the idea? That we're created with days. It has to come down into days. Those are the garments of the Torah mitzvahs that we learn and we do each day. That, like we said before, that the Zohar says is that every day we have to accomplish. In other words, the day is the garment of the Torah mitzvahs that we do. Why are days so important? Why is time so important? Why is time so important in Judaism? What is the time? So I wasted a few minutes. I made up for it later. Why is time so important? The reason is, here's the question. Elevating the world is through doing Torah mitzvahs. So as long as I'm doing Torah mitzvahs, I'm okay. It's not okay. It's not enough. Why do I have to come with all my days? Why is every day do I have to accomplish something? The Zohar says if I'm missing one day, I'm missing one garment. Why? I've done the Torah mitzvah I had to do. So what's the difference if I missed the day or not? This is the idea that we are created with days. By days of only through days can we reach this level of alayachim. Why are days so important? So the Tzemach Tzedek explains like this. Being that our doing Torah mitzvahs are connected with our neshama the way it is in our body. Therefore, it's possible that should be a mixed into what we've done. Those type of things should be glalam yitzrechu lirchaytzu l'zach zavashimchul. They're mixed in things that you have to wash out the garments. You have to clean them out. The garments are dirty. You did Torah, you learned Torah, you did a mitzvah, but it's dirty. It's a dirty Torah mitzvah. Why? Because we're living in this world. We have a body. I'm assuming not just the fact that it's physical, but I would assume also because we have ulterior motives. Did I only learn Torah because I'm doing it for Hashem? Or was there a little bit of myself mixed in there? Did I only give tzedakah because that's what Hashem wants me to do, to help the poor person? Or did it make me, did I do it because I felt guilty, or I felt, or it made me feel good? So whatever, it's not, you don't do it because you have these feelings. You do it anyway, but you have to clean it out. You have to wash out that mitzvah, right? How do we rinse it out? That's what the Tzemach can explain. He says, as our sages say, maisim toivim. They call it truva maisim toivim, good deeds. What's the maisim toivim? So Chassidus explains that it has to be good deeds. Maisim, it's of doing the mitzvah itself, is not enough. It has to be good deeds. That's why it says truva comes before maisim toivim. You think the opposite. First comes good deeds, and if you didn't do the good deeds, then you have to do truva. But the order is tshuva, ma'asim tovim. Tshuva comes first, and then the good deeds after. How does that work? So the idea is that by doing tshuva, you make your ma'asim tovim. You make those mitzvahs tovim good. It says tovim u'me'ivim, good and shining. You shine your mitzvah by doing tshuva. But that's the same thing he's saying over here is you have to shine your mitzvah because you can do a mitzvah, but it's just a mitzvah. It's not. It's ma'asim. How do you make it ma'asim tovim? How do you make it beautiful? Just doing it itself is not enough. We have to make sure that the mitzvah is tovim, is good. But we live in this world. We have a body. We have ulterior motives. So how do you wash out these actions of humans, of us people? It's through davening. Davening is where we rinse it all out. Yudua, shalias kol inyane atayra mitzvahs, that the elevation of all the Torah mitzvahs that we do, and all the things that we draw down through it, through davening. Why? Because tefillah, davening is a ladder. The bottom of the ladder is on earth. There's the famous ladder in Jacob's dream. It's a reference it's a hint to tefillah, to davening. The bottom of it is on earth, and the top of it reaches the heavens. So what is the idea of davening? Is to elevate, to carry things up that ladder. That's what tefillah does. It elevates what we've accomplished throughout the day. Now, tefillah, as we said, is a service of the day. It's related to the day. Yom v'layla, and a day, of course, is a day and night. It's a 24-hour period. Not just daytime, not just nighttime, but a 24-hour period of day and night. Shaharei, why is that? Tefillah is connected to the tiknum. The davening was instituted, corresponding to the tmidim, to the sacrifices brought every day in the base of Migdash, which was the idea of the sacrifice brought in the morning and the sacrifice brought in the evening. So and those sacrifices are connected with the day. That's why davening is also connected with the day. Okay, look at the Torah, as it explains, look at the Torah, Pirsha Kosov, v'yadaita hayoim, he says in Aleinu every day, v'yadaita hayoim, v'ashevaisa el levavecha, ki havayu alikim. You shall know today, and you should put it to your heart, ki havayu alikim, that havayu alikim, that the transcendent havaya and alikim are all one. What does that mean? The inyan v'ashevaisa el levavecha avedus hatfilah. When the pasuk says, "Put it to your heart," right? Not just know, but put it to your heart. What are we talking about? We're talking about davening, because davening is when you get your heart going. The whole point of davening is the service of the heart, and that's why when it says in the Torah, you should serve Hashem with all your heart. What our sages say? It's a reference to Avedus HaTfilah. What is the service of Hashem related to the heart? That's davening. But what does he say? Before davening, before Vashivaisa, what do you need? And again, what's the stress here? You shall know today. What do you mean today? You shall know, and put it to your heart that Havai Lekim. The pasuk, for some reason, has to point out not just you should know it, but you should know it today. Meaning it's connected to the day. As I've explained it, just like the day is made up of a night and day, both together. What makes a one day is you have evening and you have morning. You shall put it to your heart. Just like in time, you need day. Meaning, just like in time, you need day and night. The same thing is in you. You need day and night because in you, you have day and night. What is the day and night? Your Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. That when davening comes around, it's not just you should affect your godly soul, but you should also affect your animal self. And you should also affect your body and your Yetzer Hara. Shabeis levaves, both of your hearts. Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara, your good inclination and evil inclination, which that is night and day. In a person, you bring them both together as one. Just like night and day is 24-hour period, night and day as one. That also your Yetzer Hara should turn around to serve Hashem. It says when with all your hearts. Part of our hearts are Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. And through this, nifeles avodas ha'adam ba'in davai echad ha'vayu elikim, and that's when you make Hashem one. When you serve Hashem with your and with your Laila, with your day and with your night, with your Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara, what do? Then you bring Hashem echad down into everything. Because you're making yourself one. You're showing that Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara is one. You're showing that night and day is one. So what have you accomplished now? You bring the oneness of Hashem into everything. Because you brought the oneness into every aspect. This is what davening is all about. It's the avodah of day to day, that the day-to-day service of Hashem, again, to rinse out and to wash off the garments of the Torah mitzvahs, as we said before, because you're in a physical body, it can get schmutz, and you have to rinse it out. What have you accomplished? That with an olive. You reach the level of transcendence, the transcendent light, that the way it is before it was created. It's not there yet. It's not. There is nothing there yet, and that's what you draw down. To draw down from the loy ba'alef, which transcends the system, which is higher than ishtalshus. Ishtalshus is higher than creation. That it should draw down into one. You bring it down into existence, into him, which is involved with an aleph, which is the six midas, the attributes above. All right. So what do you do? Again? The loy with the vav. You bring it down into the 6 days. You bring out the 6 midas, and through that, what do? You bring it down into this world. Okay. So go outside and play again. Okay. Want to take my phone? Yeah, please. I'm trying to teach a class here. You stay for 2 minutes. Oh. Okay. Yes. Okay, you want this? You want this? Okay, go. Okay, go out. Hey, you're gonna slip. Daddy. Thank you. Okay. So here we go. Back to the mimer. So what do? You're drawing down the lo yachad with an aleph, the transcendent light, and what do you bring it down into? Into your existence, into your day-to-day life, into your shisha midas, which is the whole world was created with this 6 midas. The whole world was created in 6 days. So when you bring it down into the 6 days of creation, what do you bring it down to? Into everything of yours. And that is the inner meaning. Why you need days. That your physical days come from the 6 midas above. Sunday comes from Chesed, Monday comes from Gvura. Shal Yadam, when you draw Hashem down into the 6 midas alyenis, into the 6 attributes above, you draw it down until the spheres of Malchus into creation with serving Hashem with Torah mitzvahs. So again, I think in a very simple way, what it means is, and we said this before, but in a very simple way, it means is your day-to-day service of Hashem is davening. That's where you clean your system out. That's where you elevate everything that you do. And when you do it, you're accomplishing all these things. You're drawing down the transcendent light. You're bringing it down into you. Because why? You also explain because I'm davening by cleaning out Yetzer Hara. Okay, ask Mendel for this one. Okay. Ask Mendel to give Davi Mendel's phone. Okay, so give Davi Mendel's phone and you take my phone. Okay. So what do you the transcendent light? You're drawing it down into yourself. Why? Because you transformed your Yetzer Hara. You made it, which is in Basi Legani, where you made your godly self and your animal self all one. So you've drawn down the transcendent light of Hashem into your existence. And what have you done? By cleaning out Yetzer Hara. By cleaning out the schmutz. Okay, tell me ask you. Okay? Or go ask Mendel to help you. And again, what is the point? Is if this hasn't come down into your day-to-day life, then it hasn't become you. If Torah mitzvahs is not part of your day-to-day life, then it's not you. So if you only do Torah mitzvahs in shul, right? But you go out in business, right? If somebody only does Torah mitzvahs during the regular season, when it comes to vacation, right, and sneeze falls away, davening with a minion fall away, then there's something wrong here. What does that mean? That Torah mitzvahs hasn't become you.
Praying about something similar to this Shabbos. Not just that what you're saying, but even one step further, that you have to do it in such a way where Torah mitzvahs aren't just part of your day, but they are the every other part of your day are rearranged and revolves around that.
Very good.
But what you're saying is that also has to be imbued with that. That's also, but like that, I think it's very hard for me. It's like, especially if you're a working person, you maybe have an hour a day or 2 hours a day between davening and everything else. It's like, you try to find where you can fit that in, and how do you focus on trying to see how it is that that's like fixed, and then everything else gets fitted in around that.
Correct. That's the challenge of it. But the Fidgev actually already spoke about it in Basi Legani at the end of chapter 5. He had the same idea of days were created, but the same idea of is that like times of study should be fixed. And he asked that very question. He says, how come when it comes to studying Torah and davening? So if I have an important meeting, I have one thing to do, all that gets shoved to the side. And I have to go to my meeting, I have to go to my thing. When it comes, but why is it not the opposite? He said that's what shtus de kedusha is. Foolishness of kedusha is I have such an important meeting to do, but now I'm davening. I'm not, practically speaking, figure this out, right? But the idea is, yes, every day we should have a set time to learn, which should be non-negotiable. That's the way it has to be. So even if it's not negotiable, not necessarily time is even better. A certain time that we start learning, right? Or it could be an hour. So if my day ends at 10 o'clock, that's when my hour or half hour, however long it is, right? And if my day ends at 2 a.m, then that's when my half hour begins. But the idea is that we have learning Torah, which is non-negotiable, right? Or you plan your day. So that, in other words, I don't have to work with davening, right? You have your appointments, come to davening, and you do this, you do that. By the time you get ready, you only have 20 minutes left. You have to get through davening very quickly. But plan our day, right? This is when I have to start davening because I have a meeting at 10 o'clock. So I have to be starting to daven at 9 o'clock, or else I'm not going to have enough time to daven like a mensch. And that's the idea is, yes, make these the priority. Because if Torah has to be your day-to-day life. It has to be the oxygen you breathe. If it's not your day-to-day life, if a day can go by, God forbid, and I didn't learn my shir in Torah, that's not good. Because it means it's not penetrated who I am. That's also what good Jewish education does. Because in certain areas we struggle, but in other areas you'll notice the good Jewish education is that our Yiddishkeit is that we have things that are just non-negotiable. It is who I am more than anything else in my life. And that's the way, and the idea is to up that game a little bit, right? There's certain areas in our life that's, Shabbos, Friday afternoon.
Carry that
into learning and davening. In other words, it's not like we don't have it. We do have it.
Yeah.
Right. Friday afternoon, it comes a certain time, we're not going to be working anymore. No matter what's going on, no matter how urgent it is. It's it. And it's not even and we think about it anymore. It's holistic almost. It's part of who we are. This Shabbos is part of who I am. There's just it's non-negotiable. Yes, the question is, how do I do with davening? How do I make sure that every day I start with a half hour or 45 minutes of davening time, that I have enough time to say each word slowly, whatever it is. Same thing with learning, right? Time and start at the same time. Come on. Be very helpful. Yeah. Yes, I totally with that. And that's the idea. Yamim Yutzaru. The Yiddishkeit has to come down into their life. And now we could understand why time is so important. It's not just a detail. It's not just a detail like, oh, I'm happen to be a created being and live in time and space, so I have to serve Hashem in time and space. No, you have to bring him into time and space. If you don't bring him into your time, into your day-to-day life, then you're not accomplishing what you should be. Because you're not bringing Hashem into the world, into the 6 days, into the 6 days of creation. And that's our whole point of being. Very good. What does the Rebbe continue with? The Rebbe is going to continue with the Rebbe Marash. It's already 10 o'clock, so we'll just give a quick, just a sampling of what we're going to be talking about. So we might end up doing 2 weeks. My whole projection might have just fallen apart. Might end up having another 2 weeks of this mimer, but that will be okay. We could, you think? Maybe, we'll see. And what was that? Yeah, we only got through a half today, so yeah. What is the Rebbe Marash? Whatever quotes the Rebbe Marash is one more point, another point to this, and that is davening elevates the world. Davening elevates you. Davening is like a ladder that goes from below to above. But how do we change the reality itself? How do we bring Hashem down into the darkness? Not just how do you elevate the darkness, but how do you transform the darkness itself? How do you bring the light into the darkness itself? Because that is the ultimate purpose. Davening, you might say almost the meaning of davening is that you're leaving this world and you're going up to heaven. Just like the ladder. You're climbing up the ladder, you're leaving the ground and you're going up to heaven. Which is that's the definition of going from below to above, is that you're leaving below and you're going up. You're no longer on earth almost during davening. Now you're in heaven. There's a picture, a drawing of the Hasidic artists. I don't know if they both have a Kleiman or Lieberman, I forget which one. Basically, have a little hut with the wife standing over there doing whatever she's doing with the chickens running around, and they have a ladder going at it from nowhere, straight up into the clouds. And this guy is climbing up that ladder. It's a depiction of davening, right? He's climbing straight up into heaven. He's no longer on earth. He's in a different world. He's never in existence. But it's not enough. How do we change the reality itself? And that's going to be the next verse of the Rebbe Maharash, where basically he quotes the Gemara. How does the world exist? And specifically, it says that before Mashiach comes, every day is going to be worse than the one before. The curse of each day is going to be worse than the curse of the day before. And if that's the case, what does the world exist on? And the Gemara says, on Amin Yehesh Meiraba Bagadata. When we say Agadata, we learn Torah, and we say Kaddish Rabbanan afterwards. When you take Kaddish after learning of Agadata, of the learning of right, there's two parts of Gemara of Talmud. There's halacha, there's halachic part, and then there's Agadata, which is more the stories, the Yaakov, right? And so specifically, he says when you say Kaddish for Agadata, which basically begs the question: if it's Kaddish, it's Amin Yesh Abba, then what do you need Agadata for? If it's because learning Agadata, what do you mean Amin Yesh Abba for? And he's going to tie all this into what we're saying over here. That specifically to saying Amin Yesh Abba of Agadata. That's the way you transform this world, the Metzias of the world, the existence of the world, and you make it the home of Hashem that we've been talking about all along. And I guess for the whole beer, we're going to have to wait till next week. God willing, we'll continue. But yeah. Very good. By the way,